We have with us DanFeller, who is a professional in digital industries. Specifically, he works at Plaudit Design in Minneapolis, which is a web development company. And so, Dan, tell us a little bit about what you do in your job.
Well, my job started off as being focused on doing strictly web development, which is writing code in order to make websites work. I've been doing this now for 7 years at two different agencies, and over the last 7 years I've actually transitioned from doing strictly development work to really experiencing a lot more of what the web industry has to offer. So now I'm, in addition to development, which is again writing a lot of code, I'm also doing internet marketing, which focuses a lot on search engine optimization and web analytics, and I also do a bit of account management and project management. So I'm working very closely with a lot of different clients from a lot of different industries as they are either creating new websites or improving an existing web presence. And oftentimes I'm working with them from the beginning of a process, from when we're planning a website out for the very first time, all the way through the design process, and then finally into the development of the website, and finally to launch it.
What are some of the aspects of your job that you view as highly challenging?
Well, there's actually a lot of challenging aspects, and that's one of the things that actually draws me to this job and to this industry as a whole, because every single week I am faced with new problems that I've never experienced before that I have to find new solutions for, and so because of that, there's a wide range of challenges that pop up. One might think that, well, you write code, so a lot of challenges might be how to write a particular script for something, or how to get something to work just right. And while those challenges do come up, I think one of the bigger challenges that we face on a week-to-week basis is actually more based around communication and working with clients on different problems and explaining about the way that the internet works and how our clients can take advantage of it. One thing that we often forget in the industry that we work in is that we spend all day long, every week, all year round, living in the world of the web. We know how it works backward and forward, and when we're working with clients, we oftentimes forget that they don't. And so one of the big challenges is being able to pull the knowledge that we have as professionals in the web industry, and being able to explain it and communicate about it with the clients and people who aren't so knowledgeable on these topics.
You mentioned that you've been in this profession now for about 7 years. Has your job changed over this 7-year period of time, and if so, how?
That's a great question, and actually it has changed quite a bit. Every year more and more changes, and there's two types of changes that take place. One, for me, has been just the nature of the job that I'm performing that changes from year to year. As I mentioned, I originally started off with just writing code and strictly working on the development side, and then transitioning later into down to account management and project management and analytics. And so for me personally, there's been a lot of changes as far as what I'm responsible for, what I've needed to research and learn more about in order to continue my professional development. But the industry as a whole is simultaneously changing, and it's been really fascinating. Every year, new technology emerges that oftentimes will make our job easier. In just looking specifically at the mobile market, for example, 7 years ago, there were mobile phones and people were using them to browse on the internet, but it was still such a brand new industry. In fact, it still is such a brand new industry. But over the last 7 years, the mobile market has exploded. More people worldwide now are using mobile phones to access the internet than desktop computers. This is dramatically different from the way that it was even 7 years ago. So there's constantly things like that changing in the worldwide marketplace for the web that forces us to change the way that we work and adapt to new technologies and continuously learn new skills that 7 years ago, 5 years ago, you didn't even predict you would need in the future.
Could you talk a bit about the kinds of skills that you think are particularly important in your line of work?
At the very basic level, of course, as a developer, I need to have skills in writing code frameworks in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and Java. But beyond that, there's a lot of other skills that are needed. First and foremost is going to be communication. There's no project that happens where it's just one person working on it. There's a team of people working on every project, and you really need to have really good communication skills with not only your team, but the clients that you're working with. Fully understand your industry, not just with the technical terminology, but being able to translate that into something that other people can understand. You need to have critical thinking skills and creative thinking skills. Even in a really technical workplace where there is a specific way to code something or there is a specific way to make something, there are always problems that emerge that you have to come up with creative solutions for. And so being able to approach problems from a high level and then being able to understand the intricacies of how they work at a lower level are also vitally important.
You mentioned that you work at a digital ad agency, Plaudit, where teamwork is important. Describe what that teamwork looks like and what are the issues that are connected with collaborating on a team?
I do work at a small agency. Plaudit employs 10 people, and on any given project, there's roughly 5 working on it. At a much larger agency, you would see a much larger team working on it, and you would see that collaboration actually needing to use even better communication skills as you're working with more people. But in the small environment, you have a designer on the project, a project manager, a developer, and then usually a person doing planning, and then a person doing internet marketing, search engine optimization, and analytics, and that sort of stuff. And what's interesting is that every project has a very strict timeline, right? I mean, we say we need to launch a website within 3 months, and everything that needs to happen usually builds on a previous piece. For example, we can't design a website until we know what are all the pages that are going to go on the website, what's the structure of the site going to look like. And we can't determine that until we know who's going to be using the website, what's the purpose of the website. So you really have to do things in a very specific order, and every different person working on the project has a unique role in making that project work. You are letting your team know what you need in order to do your piece, while at the same time being understanding of what they need to do in order to complete their part of the project. And another component of that, which I think often gets overlooked, that is very critical, is the component of trust, and knowing that you are working with a team of professionals, and it's important for your own sanity, but also the quality of your work, to focus on what you're responsible for, help the rest of your team with the parts that they're struggling with or they could use assistance with, but also trusting that they are going to perform their job and they are going to get the pieces done they need to on time.
If a young person wanted to do your job in the future, what are some of the emotional or intellectual skills that they need?
First and foremost is patience. Everything in this industry happens fast. Nothing in this industry will come to you fast. So just simply having patience with the work that you're doing is vitally important.
What advice would you have to offer for educators in order to help them better prepare young people for the work world of the 21st century?
there are always multiple resources for finding answers. I would strongly encourage not just looking at textbooks, but really leaning heavily on the internet, speaking with industry professionals, and using all of the resources you have available to you. When I was in college, I went to Full Sail University in Orlando, Florida, and they pride themselves on the fact that it's called real-world education, and one of the ways that they really showcased this is many of the tests that we had were open book, open internet, and the whole concept of that is that as you go through your professional career, very little of it is regurgitating rote information. So much of it is going out and learning how to find the answers yourself. And the whole point is you're not going to learn everything there is to know about the internet in one class. You're not going to learn about it in one job. You're not going to learn all about it in 10 years. It's in a constantly evolving industry and world, and the point isn't to memorize all of those pieces of information. The point is knowing how to find the answers that you need, because you're always going to be posed with a different question.